I found my way home across the Grand Mirage. Ever since
Yes, yes, it's the Alison Arngrim Show, and I'm Alison Arngrim. Okay, well, probably a lot of you remember me as evil Nellie Olson. But luckily tonight, I am Alison Arngrim. And here on the Alison Arngrim Show, we talk about things that make you feel good. The TV shows and the movies that made us feel good and the people who made them and people who are doing things now to make the world a better and more interesting place. And I have someone who could do all of those things at once. Yes, it's like amazing. Okay, we've had her on before. In fact, I rerun her show because I don't know if she knows that this is one of my highest, it may be the highest rated show of the Alison Arngrim Show episodes. It is absolutely in the top 3. I'll have to look and see if anybody actually got more views than this woman when she's on my show. Sometimes I just rerun her episode so that people will tune in because her episode, which was just like off the freaking charts. And I think we're going to do it again because she has another book coming out. It's like, she does not stop. She doesn't stop. Yes. Am I talking about Cousin Jerry from Facts of Life? Am I talking about, yes, Deadwood? Yeah, and that's why the Deadwood thing was blowing up. We had our last. And she wrote a book before about I'm Walking as Straight as I Can, which was not very, in both cases. And now she's got another book. This is amazing. She has a book. Geri Jewell has a book called Geri's Jewels and Gems. And I was like, where did she get like more material? Did you know that Geri Jewell wrote for a magazine called Ability Magazine? How many of you knew there was something called Ability Magazine? And now you know. And she wrote, and she's got the articles from this magazine, plus all new photos, plus all new, she got Norman Lear to do the forward. Yeah, she did. She did. Because she's Geri Jewell. Ladies and gentlemen, Geri Jewell. Yay! Oh my God, you are always amazing. You're always amazing. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
This is great. This is great. So I have to ask you, you now have a new book. Oh, and tomorrow, now today is Tuesday. So it's tomorrow is the, tomorrow's the 7th? Tomorrow's the 7th, right? 7th. So tomorrow, if you're watching this live, tomorrow, August 7th, at the Grove in LA. Yes, the Grove down there in Fairfax, the Barnes & Noble, she's having the book signing. So go, I'm going, we're all going. If you're watching this later, you missed it, but maybe she'll do another one because the book will probably be ahead. So there, see, poster for it. So in addition to everything you've done, becoming a stand-up star and a television star and a movie star and everything else, and Norman Lear's like bestie, and all of these insane things that have happened to you, and having a fabulous book before, you also wrote for a magazine, Ability Magazine, which I am like, again, in the dark. I'm going, what's Ability Magazine? What the heck is Ability Magazine? And when did you write for them? And how did this happen? And when did you have time? My God.
Ability Magazine is a great magazine, and editor is Chuck Cooper. And they interviewed me for my first book, I'm Walking as Straight as I Can, back in 2012 or 2011.
Right.
And he was so impressed with my writing from that book that he asked me if I would write for Ability.
Oh.
So I wrote columns, and I also interviewed some celebrities. I spent 2 days with Norman Lear interviewing him for Ability Magazine and Charlotte Ray. And some other people. So it was a wonderful experience. And when 2020 came along, and we had the lockdown, and we had COVID, and everybody was just scared, and nobody could go out, and I think there was a lot of depression, and I thought,
God, yes.
Oh God, yeah. And I have a lot of physical issues, health issues that I've dealt with, every single year I deal with.
I made a store run. I came to your door and brought you in the middle of 2020 when everyone's locked down. It was nuts. We're all looking for stuff to do. And I came over and I said, I know a guy who has Lysol and has cleaning sticks. They're just selling out of
Yes, I
everything. I
remember
came
that.
into your door with a bag of like Lysol and bathroom cleaner and paper towels and toilet paper and all this crap. And you were like, stand back, stand back. You had a mask and cowboy pajamas. You were it's like,
Yeah, that's
like, oh my, it was hilarious.
but I wanted to inspire people. I wanted to make people laugh without having to go to the stage and do it. And I thought about these columns that I wrote for Ability, and I thought, wow, if I can get Chet to let me do a book. And
Brilliant.
he said, yes, of course, as long as you give Ability Magazine credit. And I will. It's a great magazine. It's still available online. They've interviewed tons of celebrities over the years, and they have great articles on overcoming and living with disabilities. But it's not a downer. It's a really upbeat.
No, it's like by and for people with different disabilities and stuff. So that's genius.
So he said I could do it, and then I needed someone to write the foreword. I wrote a preface for it and an afterword, but I needed someone to write the foreword. So I called Norman and I said, Norman Lear, I
As
called
one does.
him and I said, Norman, I have a new book coming out. Oh, well, bring it over to the house. Okay. So I brought it over, and it was Dr. Randall Bell went with me. He has the publishing company that published this book. So we went there together, and it was an amazing afternoon. We spent about 2 hours there with Norman Lear, and Dustin Hoffman was there.
Just like he wandered in, he came to borrow a cup of sugar or what? He was just happened to be there.
I know. And it was surreal. It was magical. And I said, Norman, I know you're really busy, and I know you have a lot on your plate, but can you write a forward for my new book? It's a coffee table book. And he said, but what if they don't have a coffee table? Then what?
Do not give Norman Lear an opening like that you could get right.
And he wrote that forward at 101 and delivered it 2 weeks later.
There are people in their 30s and 40s who can't meet a writing deadline like that. Dude was 101, and he's like, yeah, let me get that right back to you.
I know. It was amazing. And it was his last gift given to me.
Oh, my God. Now, you and Norman Lear have this like unbelievable, you had this friendship, this unbelievable relationship going back because you started doing stand-up. Now, I think everyone knows, yes, Cousin Jerry, Facts of Life, yes, Deadwood. Now, for you youngsters, you do know that this woman was one of the pioneers in stand-up comedy in the 1970s. In the late 70s in LA and in New York, stand-up just blew up. There was like the stand-up thing you've seen on like Mrs. Maisel in the 60s, but the 70s was this explosion in LA of stand-up. And you were one of the pioneers. You were there. It was in the mid 70s when a guy named Jay Leno and a guy named David Letterman and some dude named Chevy. I mean, some guy named Robin Williams who wore funny suspenders who didn't have a job yet. I mean, these people were just stand-ups and hoping to get good slots and stuff at one time. It was literally that era. I was a teenager. I was down there in my little jeans and sneakers going, can I go on? Can I trying to get let's talk. And 1978. You were doing stand-up, and you were people with any kind of disability doing stand-up in 1978. No, they were not. And you were live on stage at all the clubs at the Comedy Store. Tell everyone what that was like to become a stand-up comic in 1978. And how old were you? You were like a kid, too.
I was a kid, kind of. I was 21 in 1978, but I was probably emotionally 14. I was
still possibly still, yeah.
Alex Valdez introduced me to Danny Moore, who ran the original room at the Comedy Store. And Danny had reservations because he had never seen anybody quite like me.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to take the risk of having me perform for Misty Shore and not doing a good set and her saying, no, you can't come back here. He wanted me to be polished before Misty ever saw me, just in case she had issues with the disability, because that was brand new back then.
Because in 1978, people would just go, oh, yeah, no, you're not doing that here.
Exactly.
Easily.
Exactly. And so he said, what we'll do, instead of you standing in line on amateur night, you come to the back door on amateur night about 11:30 or midnight, knock on the door, tell them to tell, oh God, why did I just have a brain fart?
Was it Dan or it wasn't Angus? It wasn't Angus guy. Okay, yeah, not
Okay.
Argus. Thank God.
That-
Okay.
Tell Danny that Jerry's here, and as soon as Mitzi leaves the room, we'll put you on.
How many comics wish they could have waited till Mitzi left the room to do their set? Just saying.
And so she left the room the first time I ever performed, and he comes running to the back door. He runs up to the MC, introduce Jerry from Orange County right now. But Jerry's not on the list. Just introduce Jerry right now. So because my name was Jerry, he assumed that I was a man. So he said, let's give a big hand for Jerry. He drove all the way. Jerry Jewell drove all the way from Orange County. Give him a big hand. Give him a big hand. And I was so nervous, I didn't even correct color. Oh. Okay.
So now, did Mitzi ever come back in the room, or did you just you crashed the Comedy Store? You just like hijacked the freaking stage.
I did, and when I got up on stage, the audience. You could hear a pin drop, and I'm deaf, and I could hear a pin drop. It was so quiet, and they were going, "Oh my God, it's a man! Oh."
What's the matter? What's the matter? What's the matter with him?
And if it is a man, he's on some really strong drugs.
This dude is stoned. What?
That was the beginning of my career. I ended up getting a standing ovation that night.
Oh my God.
I wish that Missy was in the room that night, but she didn't see me until 3 months later.
But that is so, I mean, you do that. You're just like, well, I guess I'll go in the back door. Just go in, find a way, do it. But then you became known. Everyone's like, oh yeah, Jerry, you were a stand-up comic. You were known. You were always and it was hysterical because part of it was the audacity for someone at that time to come on stage and say, yes, this is me. Yes, I have this condition, and laugh and go, yes, it's hysterical. I fall down. And like, make people were like, okay, do we laugh? Do we laugh? Oh my God, I'm terrified. What do I say? Right?
I'm turning this off.
Oh, you have a cat or what? Oh, fix your thing.
Okay.
So yeah, people were totally freaked out, but you became well known as, like I said, people didn't know whether to laugh or what they were supposed to do. And it was the audacity of it to just get up there and do that at that time was shocking to people.
It was, and some people didn't quite know how to wrap their brain around me. And I remember when Norman Lear met me for the first time after doing stand-up, and he came up to me and he said, you're real funny, kid, but you're way before your time. I said, so wait a couple months.
that was still really early. That was, oh my God, you met him. It was in like the second annual Media Access Awards. This was still you were ahead of your time. It was still at a time when nobody was doing this. And he saw, and then is that how Facts of Life came about? That then he from how long between seeing you perform to when Norman Lear put you on TV did that take?
2 months.
Okay, you said a couple of months.
He wasn't lying. 2 months.
And then what was the reception to that like? Because I mean, I realize, I mean, I'm of the age like, oh, Facts of Life, but for young people, it's like Facts of Life. That was a long time ago. It's what was the public reaction, the reception to you as Cousin Geri on Facts of Life? I want to know, did they think it was real? Because back then, the idea of disabled people playing disabled people didn't exist. People came in and played. Did they think you were putting it on, or were you for real?
Well, if they thought I was putting it on, I should have had an Emmy for it.
What to hide?
No, there were a few people who didn't think it was real. Every now and then I hear stories of that, you know. Um, One time I performed at the Comedy Store, and this man followed me from the audience to the back hallway, and he was livid with me. He said, "I cannot believe that you're making fun of people with cerebral palsy. I have a daughter with cerebral palsy, and I don't like it. Now cut out the act." And I said, "It's not an act. I have it. No, I really do have cerebral palsy." He thought that it was an act.
That would be really like bad if somebody be horrified.
You know,
All right.
there's a funny story. Howie Mandel, the first time that he ever did comedy, he followed me. The very first time he ever did it. Yeah. And you know, remember when he did that baby character and he moved his hands like a baby? The audience thought that he was making fun of me.
No. Oh my God.
And they were booing him. But he finally got off the stage and he said to me, "Boy, I'll never follow you again."
Oh shit. Oh my God. Now, Facts of Life, okay, has become legendary. And that raises a question. There are people who do sketches about Facts of Life now. It's like there's drag Facts of Life. There's so many like Facts of Life comedy sketches have happened and running plays of it, and they're hysterical, but they do often have, usually a dude, come in and play Cousin Geri. How
Yeah.
do you feel about this? Because obviously the depictions of Cousin Geri, they're totally sending the whole thing up and they're mocking everyone in the show. But is that like weird?
Well, it's fun. It's not malicious.
No.
It's cute. It's fun, and they're friends. You know, they became friends of mine, and I have no problem. I mean, even when Heather McDonald used to do impressions of me all the time on the Chelsea Handler show,
Oh my God.
yeah, she was always doing me. And so I found out that she had a book signing at Barnes and Noble, the same place where I'm going to
I
be
like it tomorrow. Okay.
tomorrow. And so I showed up and I went up to her with a book and I said, "Could you please sign my book? And you owe me." And she said, um, "What do you mean you owe me?" "Well, you've done enough impressions of me, and you do cerebral palsy even better than me, and I haven't. So you better get me on the Chelsea Handler show." And she did. And we,
Okay. Again, audacity. It seems that your key tool to getting everywhere is just complete balls out audacity. Just like, you need to have me on the show. You need to give me a job.
you know, I can be very shy and not know what to say, and I can be boldly go where no person with cerebral palsy would dare.
Now, I'm harping on Facts of Life because Facts of Life is like, I don't know, it's in this week. There's been much gossip and drama on Instagram, apparently. I'm not hearing this, but about who is mean on Facts of Life, because like Mindy Khan was going off on somebody, and then she's like, no, I don't want to say who it is. But so everyone's dishing. Now, I mean, as I've often said about Little House, you're taking a group of teenage girls and throwing them into a studio together and locking the door. Chaos is going to ensue. Somebody is going to be unhappy. Were there any diva actions, any sort of drama during Facts of Life? You don't have to throw anybody under the bus if you don't want to.
So you're talking about on the actual show. You're not talking.
Yeah, there's been gossip that during Facts of Life that there was some major diva drama. Oh, you don't have to name her if you don't want to, but Mindy Khan was going on about it, and then everybody tried to get Mindy Khan to say which one of them it was, and she wouldn't. So, but everybody's guessed. So,
Yes. Well, I can't believe that Mindy said what she said. I especially since I had dinner with Lisa Welcher last week.
dun da da da. See, that's the thing. You never. I mean, when you're making a show and you have a bunch of really young, you have teenage girls can be wretched. It's a thing. And so sometimes drama goes on at the time, but that doesn't necessarily mean that 8,000 years later that we're holding grudges.
I don't know what it is. I honestly don't. I mean, Lisa is the sweetest, kindest. We get along fine. I don't know that it was her. It could have been Nancy. It could have been
So complications have now been thrown into the gossip stream of Instagram. So now you all have to guess again and try to figure out who was awful. So there you go. That will confuse people even further. Now, you, of course, blew it up on Deadwood. That was amazing. And then came back for the Deadwood movie and the thing. And that was just the most incredible thing. And I interviewed you when we were doing the Deadwood thing. But they've actually had now Deadwood fan events, Deadwood autograph shows. And you went.
Well, they opened a new casino in Deadwood, South Dakota called Mr. Wu's Casino.
Oh, shut up. That's great. So the actual Deadwood opened up a Mr. Wu's. So yes, of course. So they're not crazy. They invited you. Who else did they get from the show?
And Coyote Young, who played Mr. Wu, actually got this kid to go with him and Earl Brown. We had the best time. We had so much fun.
Those are great. You know, with the 50th, obviously, with Little House, we've been doing these things like every freaking weekend. It's awesome. So did you enjoy the whole fan event and signing autographs in South Dakota? You liked it?
I did. There was, it was very hot, and there was one fan who was very drunk, and he came up to my table and he said, "Oh, I love you so much," and then he passed out of my book, and on top of my new book, and I turned to my friend David Zimmerman, and I said, if he vomits on that, he's gonna buy it.
Yeah, you puke on it, you buy it, people. Remember this for tomorrow night. I had brunch with David Zimmerman in San Francisco last week.
Oh, okay.
I was up there doing a show, and David was in town. I was like, oh my God, we're in the same city at the same time. Let's go get Eggs Benedict.
Wow.
So we hung out, and it was awesome. But yeah, no, I love doing these events, and I would imagine a Deadwood event would attract a very diverse, interesting crowd.
I like Deadwood. I mean, I've been there several times. In fact, I did disability sensitivity training there for their schools. And so I have a lot of friends in Deadwood. So I'll be going back. I love Deadwood. I think I was in Deadwood in a past life, and this is my karma.
Maybe this is it. Maybe you were that woman or something. I don't,
I even wrote the foreword for another writer. Her name is Chris Innes, and she wrote a whole book about the prostitutes of Deadwood.
Oh, I saw that. Did you write that? You wrote for the forward. I saw. Why is that coming up under Geri's name? Oh my God, you wrote the forward for that.
I wrote the forward for it. And, you know, I paid it forward. I figured I might as well write it forward for someone else because I'm going to be asking Norman Lear for it.
This is amazing. So I'm going to come tomorrow. I have not gotten a copy of the book yet. I'm going to come get a copy tomorrow. I'm going to look buy a copy and have you sign it. And I won't puke on it. I probably will not puke on it. I will buy the book. If I need to puke on it, that'll be left. It includes photos as well. It says you got articles that you wrote for Ability plus photos. What kind of stuff is in this book that we're all going to buy tomorrow?
Well, I tried to make it a fun book, a very lighthearted book. And I wanted photos that were fun and interesting that some people hadn't seen before. And I think it was sort of cathartic too, because it heals the pain of losing my sister to cancer in 2017. So there's a lot of pictures of Gloria in there. It was cathartic, you know. It was 2020. It was lockdown. I was trying to make myself feel good when I was depressed and scared like everybody else, you know.
All right, so this is fabulous. And then the articles that you wrote, what are some of the articles included? Are there any of the celebrity interviews you did included, or are there articles on different topics?
I didn't include any of my interviews with the celebrities, but I figured that if this book sells, maybe I can do it in the second edition and add the celebrity interviews. I didn't even think of that. But the columns, you know, I read the columns today, not today, but opposed to when I wrote them years ago for Ability, and they apply even more today than they did then. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I read it and I'm going, oh my God, I wrote this in 2017, 2015, and it fits today. Wow.
Well, so, I mean, that brings up the question, obviously there's been improvements. Would you say that the way society treats disabled people and the now at least there's, you know, Americans with Disability Act, there's curb cuts and sidewalks, there's some, would you say that the accessibility and the stuff put in for people with different disabilities is better than it used to be?
I didn't really write a lot about disability in this book. I wrote about topics that had nothing to do with one another. There was one column which I wrote called "The Jury Is Out," and it was about my first experience as a jury member.
The horror of jury duty. No, God. Oh, yikes.
And they've never asked me again.
God.
And when you read this column, you'll crack up because what did I know? You have to understand. I got automatically excused from all jury duty because I had a disability. You never saw anybody with a disability on jury duty. And then when the ADA passed, they had to see people with disabilities. So I couldn't say, well, sorry, I have cerebral palsy. I'll get a note from my doctor. I mean, I called them and tried that. And I had just moved to Vegas. This was in Las Vegas, not even LA. And I said, I would love to serve on your jury, but I have cerebral palsy. And she said, well, what does that have to do with your cognitive thinking?
Oh my God. So the progress we made in accessibility and accommodations, where you said, oh, no, we can't exclude people with cerebral palsy and disabilities from jury duty. They're American citizens. And there you are trying to get out of freaking jury duty.
What did I have to base it on? I had no experience ever prior to that. I mean, the only thing I knew about was Perry Mason and Matlock.
So yeah, what do you do like that? Do you just pretend you're like in an episode of Perry Mason and like, I mean, you know, I've mercifully, I've never made it under jury duty either. Somewhere I made it like up to almost jury duty where they had me sit in a room and then it's like, no, you can go. Very often, if you say, when they say, what do you do for a living? You say, I'm an actress. They're like, next, because they know lawyers have to act, both defense attorneys and prosecutors in court.
I
There is a performance involved in trying to convince you, and they're afraid that actors will see through the act and know that they're lying, and they hate having us in court. Hate it. They hate it.
know. Well, I think the reason I got chosen was because the attorney for the defendant asked me if I thought that cops were always honest.
Uh-oh.
And I said, oh, hell no. Okay.
I say, we'll take her.
Yeah.
So what topics do you have in there? You have jury duty. What else?
I was afraid because I'm hearing impaired. I have 75% hearing loss. And that was my real insecurity, was that I didn't want the responsibility of hearing something wrong and saying, oh, well, I think he's guilty. You know? I didn't want to, not that I have no respect for the system. I do. But me personally, I didn't want me on my own jury.
Well, then, okay, so things have changed. Do you think, I mean, as an actress and as a comedian, do you think people see disabled people differently today than they did?
Yeah, but you know, we still have a long way to go. But the Media Access Awards just got an Emmy this year.
Okay, that's huge.
That's never been done before. And it was the first time that it aired on television, too. So
That's right. I mean,
the,
many people, again, okay, we had to explain ability. Explain what the Media Access Awards are to people who are going, there's a Media Access Award.
the Media Access Awards is an award show that awards producers and actors and writers and directors on using people with disabilities in the entertainment industry, whether it's behind the camera or in front of the camera. And one thing that I love about it also is that there is an award every year called the Norman Lear Geri Jewell Award. And I can't believe I have that honor. Wow.
You literally have an award named after you.
I know.
That's kind of, well, now how do you feel about people who do not have a disability portraying people with disabilities in TV shows and movies? Because that's, I think, it used to be all that. I mean, come on Little House on the Prairie, I think we had one blind person once and and two deaf guys who ever were on the show. We had an entire blind school, and I think there were two children with like guest stars who were blind. And we did have an episode about deaf people. We did have a deaf guy, and but that was like it in 9 years. And generally back in the day, sighted people played blind people, hearing people played deaf people, people pretended to have cerebral palsy and pretended to have everything. But now people are hired with actual disabilities, and it's very rare that someone does not have a disability. What do you think about that?
I think playing someone with a disability and you don't have it is challenging. I think that I personally wouldn't take that away from someone as long as we even the playing field. I mean, let the auditions be equal. Let qualified people with disabilities compete with actors without disabilities, and maybe they'll do a better job. You know, I'm not one of these that think it shouldn't be at all, because I think it would be a wonderful experience for an actor. But on the same token, I have to support employment of people with disabilities because we have such marginal employment.
Right. Well, yeah, and you're saying it obviously it's like so a character who may not be written as disabled. I mean, now they've kind of like figured it out where they'll sometimes show a character and say any race. The character is not written as being specifically black or
Yes,
white. This character, anybody.
exactly.
So make it so this character is not necessarily written with a disability, but should someone in a wheelchair or with cerebral palsy
Yeah,
say,
I
"I think
agree.
I want to play the doctor," and that they can.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, I know if they ever do a movie on my life, they're gonna have a very difficult time finding an actress with my kind of cerebral palsy and who's funny too at the same time. That's gonna be hard. I mean, I don't know how they're gonna do it.
I think even if they hired someone without a disability, I challenge them to like even play you for 10 minutes. Um, as I said, the audacity. Where are they going to find someone with
Well,
that?
I know. I think what we're gonna have to do is, you know, put people with disabilities in supporting roles in the movie, but get a name to play me. Because you're not going to find somebody with my kind of cerebral palsy, with my kind of sense of humor, perfect for the role. It doesn't exist.
Right? It's
Because
what do you do?
cerebral palsy is so individual. I mean, there are so many different kinds of CP.
How many different kinds? I mean, that's something that people, the average person, is probably sitting home going, "What? Who? Where? How many kinds of cerebral palsy are there?"
Oh, millions. We're taking over the world. No, there's all kinds of different. Some people with cerebral palsy are nonverbal. Um,
Right,
some
right,
people with
right.
cerebral palsy are wheelchair users. Some people with cerebral palsy are deaf like me. uh, and depending upon what part of the brain was injured, it's
Oh,
it's
wow.
it's brain injury is how it's going to manifest in the body. And that varies depending upon where the brain was injured and how extensive the injury was. I think there's a big answer in stem cell research personally. I don't think I'll see it in my time, unfortunately, but I think it can cure. There will be a cure for cerebral palsy.
Really?
Stem cell. I really believe that.
Because, well, they have. I mean, they've done stuff. I know people with Parkinson's. They've been doing stuff with a brain implant, with an electronic thing. Um, Now you've got like what the fancy hearing aids to hook up with the cell phone and stuff like that.
Yes, I do.
What other stuff do you use? What other gadgets have you used to make your life easier?
Well, I have a walker, I have a cane, I have friends that I hang on to. Um, you know, it's CP and aging. We are the baby boomer were the most progressive group of people with disabilities, especially, not especially, including cerebral palsy. And before the baby boomers, most people with cerebral palsy never left home. They never were employed or they were institutionalized. So then you got the baby boomer generation who was like creating the ADA, go out there and do your stuff, get employed, do this. And my body now is that uh, the only thing I can equate it to is an athlete or a dancer. I have overworked my body so much just to function that now when I had neck surgery
Mm.
in 99, the surgeon told my sister that if I didn't know that your sister was 43 and I just opened her up, I would have thought she was a woman of 75 or 80
Oh dear.
because because of her bones and her joints are so old. And they're old because they're overworked. It takes so much work for me to walk across a room, Alison, and for you to walk across a room. It takes me probably 20 or 30 times more brain power than it does you to do the same thing.
Well, you're working your muscles because there's all sorts of, you've mentioned before about sort of
Yes,
spasmy, seizure things. The muscles and the bones and the tendons are doing stuff even when you
yes,
don't want to be doing stuff.
yes.
So it's like 1, 2, 1, 2, it's just like flexing. Like, let's just sit here and flex all day for
Yeah,
12
it's
hours
like
and see what
doing
happens.
isometrics every waking hour. Can you rest for a minute? That's why sleeping is so hard for me
Ugh.
because I can't turn off that brain. That brain is sending messages to move all the time, which is
Ah.
so it's challenging. It's more than what people just see me out there. It's stuff that I have to deal with privately on a daily basis. I had an MRI last week on my lower back, and I have a doctor appointment day after tomorrow to find out what's going on with my lower back and my left leg and my left foot. My left foot. That's a sleepy
Yeah,
title for
it's
a
a big
movie.
hit movie, wasn't it? That was a okay, and nobody our age, everybody's back around our age is like, yeah, so I can't imagine what's going on. Yours, well, this is like when I was we were talking about Deadwood, when Deadwood, and I was complimenting you on this scene where you boldly went down the street and they were throwing garbage and abuse at you, and you held your head high, and you said, "Yeah, I can't like bend my neck. It doesn't." There's
Yeah, I can't.
there's like a titanium rod or something, and there's like, who can move my head?
I have two titanium plates
That's too.
and six screws. Six titanium screws. Actually, there's a seventh one that the surgeon dropped inside of me.
No,
My
why?
suspicion is that screw is in my left foot.
That was it.
I could be wrong, but I think it's there.
It could have rattled down there. So wait, metal detectors at the airport are completely out. What do they do with you at the airport even?
Well, titanium cannot be detectable.
Really? Oh, so titanium is like secret weapons. You can go through
They
metal
have those
detectors.
titanium phones now. Yeah, they can't.
Oh, I did not know that. I've heard about like ghost guns and making, weapons out of stuff. I did titanium. See,
Yep,
now I learn something new every day. Titanium is not detected. That's kind of terrifying. Now, of course, they have to find a
it
titanium
is
detector because yikes.
because it's a man-made metal. It's not natural.
So your chest, yeah, how much of you is not man-made at this point? I mean, God. I don't know how you do it. How do you do? I mean, your writing process. So when you go to write, I mean, knowing how hard that is to put other things out of your mind and focus and put together a book and write things and sit there and how do you do that? Do you sit at the computer? How do you take like breaks every 5 minutes? How do you write? What's your process for that?
um, I can't take too many breaks because I won't come back. No, it's not the focusing that I have problems with. It's my brain is so fast intellectually, but my fingers have CP. So I'm like, will you slow down so my fingers can keep up with what I'm trying to write? It's very frustrating because my mind is very fast and my body is slow trying to type, and I make a million mistakes. And it it's frustrating because I know that I could do the same amount of work and that took me 3 hours and I could have done it in 30 minutes if I didn't have CP.
Oof, oof. And
So
yet you put out your second book.
yeah, because I love to write. I don't have to worry about holding the mic still. I don't have to worry about involuntary movement. I just have to deliver a book. And I love writing. My mother always said, I can't believe you went into stand up. I thought for sure you were going to be a professional writer.
Really?
Because you've been writing since you were 8 years old. I even wrote for my high school newspaper.
Well,
So I just never knew how to get into writing in the industry. I probably would have done very well had I known how, but I didn't. So but I knew how to do stand up and I knew how to be funny.
no, you certainly do. That part you've got it down. So we're all going to come tomorrow and get the book. So you're going to be doing a thing in conversation at the Barnes and Noble, like a whole interview thing and talking.
Yeah.
Do we get to ask questions and stuff?
I hope so. I'm looking forward to it. It's exciting. And it was a gift that Randy Bell, Dr. Randall Bell, gave me to publish that book. He was a friend of my sister
That's
Gloria,
right.
and he took me under his wing, and he said, I'm gonna look after you and take care of you, I promise." And he's a man of his word.
Wow. And I'm asking spoiler alerts. What did Norman Lear say in his foreword, or are you allowed to tell me?
It's a beautiful forward. It really is. One of the things that's kind of funny, there's a column in there I wrote about cryptic messages. And I knew that he read the book because he put a cryptic message in the forward.
Ah,
He was upset because I wasn't invited to his 100th birthday party. And we had talked about it like a week before. And so he couldn't believe that I wasn't invited. And so he wrote in the forward, he said, "Geri Jewell is the life of the party, whether she was invited or not."
form with your like crashing the stage at the comedy store. You are always the life of the party, whether you're invited or not, because you invite yourself in. Yes. Oh, we love that. Okay, yeah, I'm so looking forward to this. So now, if people want the book right now, they can go on Amazon and pre-order. They can go on Barnes and Noble. Where do they get this sucker?
Well, if they want to go to Barnes and Noble, the Noble event, they have to buy it from Barnes and Noble. But you can go to Amazon. You can go to my website. There are many ways of obtaining the book.
I'm
And
good. Now, the obvious question: are you going to do the audio book?
oh, I did the audio book of my last one.
How many hours in the studio would that be?
I suppose I could. I didn't think about that, but I should think about that because there are a lot of people in the disabled community who are blind, so they would appreciate
Yes.
an audiobook. Yeah,
They do audiobooks. It's the rage, and exactly. And then there's people who have various reading disabilities, and they say, "No, I do all my stuff on audio."
exactly. So
All
I
right, so
will be making one. I don't know when. I'm going to have to talk to Randy about it.
we will drag you into the studio. So I see you as making this happen somehow.
Actually, I'm walking as good as I can. The audio didn't come out until a year later.
Well, I didn't do my audio till years later. Or like my book came out, audio wasn't like the thing that it is now. I mean, now people are recording their audiobook before their book is even published. It's crazy. They're like still
Oh,
they just send it to the editor. They're not even done yet. The cover's not ready, and they're cranking out the audio before it's printed. Whereas mine came out and then like it did Kindle and it did hardcover, it did softcover, and then they're like, "Do you want to do an audiobook?" I'm like, "Now? Oh, okay." But people really liked it. So people do love the audiobook.
I know, especially when it's our voice, your
Yeah,
voice
exactly.
and my voice. Yeah, I can remember they were kind of iffy about the audiobook with the first book because they were thinking of hiring another celebrity to read the
Of
book
course.
because
Mhm.
they didn't think that my speech was clear enough. And also, how many mistakes was I going to make and how costly was that going to be? Oh, can I be
Right, yeah. They
again?
didn't think you could do it. They were like, "Oh no, she's not going to be able to do this."
But I proved them wrong. I did it.
Oh yeah, no, you got to do the audio for this. All right, well, I'm so looking forward tomorrow. And as I said, this book, Geri's Jewels and Gems. It's got everything. It's got her articles from Ability Magazine, which, yes, although it is absolutely about the magazine is buying for people with disabilities and for everybody else who wants to learn about stuff. The articles are about everything, including jury duty adventures and other insane things that have happened to her just generally in her totally insane life. And Forward, yes, by Norman Lear, written at age 101. So You know, if you're out there saying, I'm not sure I can write a book. I'm getting old. Norman Lear wrote a foreword at 101. If you're out there saying I can't write a book, I have a disability. Geri Jewell just wrote 2.
And I'm writing another one.
Are
I'm
you
writing, I'm
Are you
writing
writing
a
a third?
children's book.
Oh yeah, what's the third one? Oh my God.
Well, I'm writing a children's book for my sister called Buck Up to Cancer, and it's about a monkey overcoming cancer.
Yeah.
And Gloria wanted to write that book, and I promised her on her bedside. She was crying because she knew she wasn't going to make it. But I want to publish my book. And I said, Gloria, I promise you that I will finish the book and you will become Buck's guardian angel in the book. So I have to do that because I have to keep my promise to my sister. And hopefully it'll be a book that will, I want the money to go to St. Jude, and I want children with cancer to get a hold of it and read it. So it's going to be a fun book about a monkey.
Okay, so I'm ready to book like your interview in advance for the week that comes out. So we'll just do this again. Well, oh my God.
It'll be another year before Buck comes out.
You're relentless. You are relentless.
Hey, I'm keeping myself busy in spite of the age processing of sleepy. I'm still, when this goes, then I'm in trouble. But my body I can work with. My body I can deal with. It's hard sometimes, but actually the creativity of anything, of any project, keeps your mind off of the pain that we're in, the physical pain. So,
all right. You're amazing. You put me to shame. I feel lazy. I feel lazy just even talking to you about this. This is incredible. I will come tomorrow. I hope everyone does. Everyone get this book and then get yourself in line to pre-order the third book, which will be next year. Oh my God. You are relentless. Your audacity knows no bounds. I am so proud to know you. Thank you for coming on the Alison
both ways, Alison. I'm proud to know you too. I love you.
I love you. Thank you. And this has been the Alison Arngrim Show. And I'm Alison Arngrim.
Up from my way.